When the A7V was announced, apart from the standard embargo pumps that every product on YouTube gets, this is one of those releases that got a lot of negativity, especially on the video side. With phrases like same image quality, no open gate, it was hard to find any real positivity around the launch. Now the open gate argument has some merit to it, but same image quality couldn't be further from the truth. And somehow everyone neglected this because they automatically put it in the same basket of Sony cameras released between 2020 until now. So let me come out by saying this. The Sony A7 Mark V has the best video image quality of any Sony camera in this range. Before I jump into the details, I want to make this abundantly clear. All these cameras are good. All of them are good enough. Story, lighting, editing, sound. That's where the real magic happens, but it doesn't mean we can't get excited about the details. It just means we need to keep it in context. I've always been a bit of an image quality nerd, constantly trying to squeeze that extra 5% out, whether it's through a lens, a setting, the way I light, or just the color grade. But the game-changing stuff, that starts with you, the person behind the camera, and everything else in front of it. In 2020, the A7S III revolutionized the industry, and for a while, nothing could come close to it. Yes, we got the FX3, but it still had the same sensor and same image quality. It was like every release after this had some incremental improvement, either with usability or a function that served a niche. At the end of 2023, the A9 Mark III was launched, and almost 4 years after A7S III, it was the first camera that finally had something else. Global shutter and the best dynamic range yet. The dynamic range and latitude performance was largely inaccurately reported by the masses, and I assume because of the higher price tag, the camera basically went under the radar, although low-key being the best in class. When the A7V was launched, most creators missed the fact that there's an actual improvement on the video side. Ignoring the obvious faster readout and uncropped 50p, most creators just assume that it looks the same as the A7 Mark IV. Now I don't blame them for coming to this conclusion, because on paper and in some tests, it sure looks like the same camera. But first, let me share some more context. I've been shooting Sony since 2015, and I can comfortably say that I've used all of the models, from A7S1 to A7S III, the entire A7R series, the A7 Mark III, A7 Mark IV, including the entire FX range going up to the Sony Burano. I've had extensive experience color grading footage from all these cameras, and at least for the past 5 years since the A7S III, it mostly felt the same. You had some color differences here and there, but the overall image was similar, dynamic range was on par, and the latitude was consistent. That's until I got my hands on the A7 Mark V. We were part of the regional launch, and I had the opportunity to shoot a scene for the Euro film and also color grade the full launch video. From the moment I started working with the footage, I knew that this camera was built different. My trained eye, an eye that's been grading Sony footage for years, immediately picked it up. Same power grades, same workflow. I could really see and feel the improvement in how the files handle in post, especially in the shadows. So I made the decision to use it as an A-cam for a variety of productions going forward. I wanted to put it through a variety of real-world projects to make sure that I'm not biased in some way because it's the latest shiny object. I always get someone to shoot BTS for me on all the productions, and this is usually on an A7S III, an FX3 or A7 Mark IV. As I started comparing the BTS footage with the A7V footage, I could really see the difference, especially in the shadows. Before I jump into the technicals, let me take a moment to thank the sponsor of today's video, MusicBed. Deep down, every single one of us wants to create work that stand out, and music will always be the foundation. Music that doesn't sound familiar but hits as hard as a mainstream commercial song. Maybe even harder because you hear it for the first time. The number one reason I was attracted to MusicBed from the start was their focus on authenticity. 12 years later, and they've never deviated from this promise. In fact, they only kept growing, adding more artists and getting even more exclusive. MusicBed has always delivered the right song at the right time. The curation on the platform is so good that almost every time I log on to look for something, one of the new uploads turns out to be the winner. If I don't find a song in the first 5 minutes, I usually think of a mainstream artist that I like and then use the search by song feature, and it quickly finds something similar, sometimes even better than the reference. A while back, I got stuck in the edit with my Mavic 4 video. I needed specific music to go with the African landscape, and Daniel Deutschler is certainly the top artist in this genre. Unfortunately, his songs have already featured in some big edits online, and chasing that unique edge, I wanted something different, but with the same emotion. So when you click on the song, it also gives you a list of similar songs, and here I was spoiled for choice. I ended up going with this banger by Judah Earl, and it delivered the same punch without sounding like a copy. MusicBed is much more than a licensing platform. It's a beacon of creativity and a champion of authenticity. If you care about human creativity and value the integrity of art, there's simply no better choice. Switch to MusicBed and start your 14-day free trial today. Link in the description below. Back to the A7V footage. It's not that the shadows are just visibly cleaner, but the secret lies in the kind of noise present. The reason the A9 Mark III and A7V was overlooked is because of a small detail missed in standard lab tests. An IMA test scientifically evaluates the sensor's ability to retain detail in both the brightest highlights and darkest shadows. Using something like a Xyla 21, it can measure this performance in stops. Just because a camera can see a certain amount of stops doesn't mean all of them are usable. When a certain amount of noise is visible, the stop is deemed unusable, and a common measure for this is the signal to noise ratio. Both the A9 III and A7V were penalized here, but only because an important point was overlooked. The first place this was publicly mentioned was over at Sony D. These guys always do fantastic lab tests, and with the A9 III they picked up that although the test shows a higher noise ratio, it's the kind of noise that makes all the difference. It's like the in-camera noise reduction is disabled, allowing more noise to come through, but the noise is of a higher quality. By quality noise, I mean it's easy to clean up without destroying the integrity of the image. Even at 5 stops underexposed, the results are still usable without the presence of horizontal lines or banning artifacts. I then stumbled onto a video by Nick Salazar. He compared the A9 III with his Red V Raptor, a cinema camera at least 5 times the price, and the results were staggering. If you read through Sony D's take on these two cameras, you will come to the understanding that they actually perform better than all the rest of the mirrorless lineup. Now what I'm trying to say with this video is not that the A7 Mark V is the best camera for video, because for a lot of users an FX3 or FX6 will still be a no-brainer, regardless of the improved image quality. If you shoot hybrid and you're looking for the absolute best bang for buck video camera, the A7V is it. Dynamic range and latitude performance is one of the first things I look for, and I'm willing to compromise on other features if the performance increase is worth it. I've heard a lot of Sony users complain about the cameras lagging behind some competitors, and it took me back to a moment in 2019. Sony still didn't have 10-bit in the consumer lineup, and it started feeling like all the brands were offering something better. If even just for a moment, I myself entertained the thought that Sony had lost the plot. But lo and behold, that next year, Sony leapfrogged everything with the release of the A7S III and all their successful cameras built on top of it. For a small window of time, while everyone thought Sony was lagging behind, they were already building the next generation of cameras. They are the global leader in sensor technology, being used in so many devices over a variety of genres. Like all things, cameras go through cycles, and for me, the A7 Mark V is the promise of the best that is yet to come. If you want to learn more about how I color grade and how I light my scenes, check out the links in the description below.